Hi guys, Ariel here with Arielpaints. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about getting started face painting and getting gigs, which can be really difficult. And I've had a few people ask me this question and I thought I'll just do a video on it, talk about things that I've done in the past, things I did when I was starting out that really helped, and things that I still do to get more gigs when things are getting a little slow. So stick around, I'm going to give you my tips and hopefully they'll help you get started. The first tip that is the most important tip, if you don't watch the rest of this video, just listen to this. Promote yourself. Make business cards, make flyers, contact people. This is the classic rule in business, in any business. Networking. If you know someone who knows someone who runs the town parade, call them. You have got to put yourself out there. Think of every single way that you can do that and do it. And the hard truth here is that you're going to get rejected, but every now and then you're going to get a gig out of it. So it can be very vulnerable and very hard for people to do. I find that this is an issue with not just face painting, but all my art friends, whether they're fine artists, sculptors, if you're a visual artist or you're doing interpretive dance. We tend to be sensitive people and we don't like to put ourselves out there and we don't like to be rejected. You have to get over it. You have to email festivals, you have to call people, you have to make contacts. And don't take it personally when they already have a face painter. They already have a face painter. Move on to the next event. Move on to the next idea. But you have to do it. You will eventually get a gig from it. And even if there's a face painter who does the local fair every year, one year that face painter's not going to be there. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're on vacation that year, and you're going to be the next person that those people call because you've been calling them saying, hey, I want to face paint at your event. So you have to promote yourself. Other aspects of promoting yourself: do a Facebook page, do a website, share it. You can pay to promote yourself as well, but there's a lot of free ways that you can do this to get gigs. One of the things I've done in the past, if you have a neighborhood association, you can promote yourself through that. There's an app in the US called Nextdoor. I don't know if it's international, actually. It might be, where it's neighborhoods. It's kind of like a Facebook for neighborhoods. Throw your info on there. Say, hey neighbors, I'm a face painter and I live in the neighborhood. Let me know when your kids are having birthday parties. I personally give my neighborhood friends a discount, and it's not necessarily people I know, but if somebody from my neighborhood, and especially from that app, says to me, hey, my kid's having a birthday party and I know they're 4 doors down from me, when I write them back, say, hey, I'm going to give you a little discount for being my neighbor because I don't have to drive 30 minutes to the other side of town to do that birthday party. It's across the street. So it's worth it to me for that word to spread, and I get more neighborhood gigs that way. Okay, so another tip I have for you is to reach out to other face painters in your area. I waited a really long time to do this, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe because I felt like they were my direct competition, or I was just being shy. But once I did, I do not regret it. One, it's nice to know other face painters. There's a great online face paint community. There's tons of Facebook groups and things you can talk about, but it's very lonely being like the only face painter you know and not having someone to paint with, or someone to pass gigs to, or someone to pass gigs to you. So this is why I recommend doing it. Say, hey, I saw you face painting at, blah, blah, blah festival. You were great. Or I was just Googling face painters. I see you're in my area. I'm also a face painter. Just wanted to say hi. Once I did that, then those face painters who I was friendly with and I was nice with and started a rapport, when they couldn't be at a gig that they had, guess who they asked to do it? They're sending me contacts. They're sending me birthday parties, and I do the same to them because I can't be at every gig. I also have a life. So if I have something going on that Saturday and it's an awesome gig, I say not only to the person who contacted me, I know someone who you should try, but then I pass the information to them. So it's a tit for tat, great way to get gigs that you don't even have to try that hard for. So it's a great little trick, and you have some rapport with face painters in your area. You get invited to face painting jams, and if you're offered a very large festival gig that you need help, you have friends that you can say, hey, I need an extra face painter. What are you doing? So I encourage you, reach out to face painters in your area and make friends with them. There are also entertainment companies, national and local entertainment companies that you can contract with. These are the same companies that rent bouncy houses, help find parties magicians and balloon artists. So you can Google, maybe local companies or some national companies, and you can essentially contract out with them. They usually put you on their website as an option, or sometimes they cherry pick people they want to send out to gigs. Every company does it differently, but it is an option. So usually they don't have you buy into anything, or you don't have to pay a fee. So I would say if they're asking you for money or they want you to pay them to be on their website, I wouldn't do that. Find some place that just will freely put you on their list as options for face painting. And then it's kind of a, you're not losing anything from it. If they call you for a gig, yay. And if they don't, no big deal. So that is an option for promoting yourself as well. So another trick, then I did this a lot when I was just starting out and I had no gigs. The only person that wanted me to face paint for them was my best friend at her daughter's birthday party, which I was very grateful for at the time. I would paint my daughter's face. I would paint her face first thing in the morning, and then all Saturday long, we'd be running all over the place, to the grocery store and, to the zoo and whatever we were doing that Saturday. And along the way, never fails, someone goes, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Where were you? Where did you get your face painted? And I did it myself. And I'd of course have cards with me, and I'd give them a card. This is not going to yield you a year's worth of events, but it is a way to get your name out there, talk to people, and kind of practice saying to people, I'm a face painter and this is what I do. So I would encourage you to try it. I've heard some people paint their own face and go out and about, and you could do that too. But since I have a small daughter, I kind of used her as a pawn and would run around and be like, oh, yep, I did it, So it's an option, and sometimes it can help. So the other thing I want to talk about when just starting out, and you're probably thinking this already, okay, just started face painting and you're telling me to promote myself. What do I promote? Never done a gig, don't have any pictures. So what am I promoting? My logo? This is a problem. And this is what I did. When I started out, I didn't have any gigs. I'd face painted my daughter, face painted myself. So I had a few pictures, but not a lot. Really hard to promote yourself. So I do encourage you to volunteer. Now I want to be very specific here, because if you volunteer for the wrong events or too much, this could come back to bite you. So you have to be careful. But volunteering not only will get you some photos, so you'll have a photo library of your work, but it'll also give you realistic, hands-on, real-world practice. And what I mean by that is, instead of painting on a, transparency sheet on your floor and thinking, oh, I can do those designs, yep, I've got that. When you have a line of kids, you're trying to bust through and paint as many of those kids as you can quickly. That's real world practice. Before you say yes to a 3-day festival, you better know what you're doing, because if not, you are going to terrify yourself, because it's hard. So volunteer. Now, don't volunteer for a festival that in the future you would want them to pay you for. What I mean by that is when you agree to volunteer for something, make sure it is an event or an organization that you wouldn't mind volunteering your time for again next year when you're a big famous face painter in town, okay? The reason I say that is if you volunteer for an event just because you want to be in that event so badly, but really your goal is to make money from that event, you cannot volunteer and then next year say, oh, now I charge $800 a day or $100 an hour, or I'm going to charge the public, $10 a face to face paint at this event when you volunteered there the year before. Be very careful to what you agree to. I would recommend instead to volunteer at your neighborhood block party. Great way to promote yourself. All the kids get face painted and then the parents ask you to paint their birthday parties, right? You're not going to regret that. Find an organization that means something to you. Maybe the kids' hospital in town, something that, yanks your heartstrings. Go and volunteer. Get practice. Build up some, a photo library. And then you're going to feel good about next year when they call you and say, hey, would you volunteer for this again because you care about the organization? You're going to probably go, yes, I will volunteer for that again because I care and it means something to me and I'm going to do it and I don't mind not getting paid $1,000 for it. So I think it's a great way to practice, a great thing to do in general, but I would very, very highly recommend do not volunteer for a huge festival just to get in the door. One thing I did when I started my first big festival, I'll never forget it. I was terrified. I had not painted that many kids before, not, all at once. And I was uncomfortable charging. I did not want to charge a set amount per face because in my mind, if those kids or parents were disappointed with my design or maybe I didn't do a good job, then they were gonna, sneer at the fact that they just gave me $5 for it. So what I did instead is I put out a large tip jar and I put on that tip jar suggested tip $3. And I painted every single design for my suggested tip of $3. It got me in the door with that festival. I actually made a lot of money and people in my town happened to be just very generous. I had people giving me $20 bills and I made a decent amount of money just accepting tips for my work. It made me feel better getting started. I didn't do it for free, so it was a good compromise. It's something you can do if you feel like maybe you're not quite ready, but you still want to do that event. I think that parents, if they're picking how much they're giving you, if they're choosing to give you a tip of $2, $3, $4, something like that, they're less inclined to be as picky with your designs or as critical of you as well because they have some control over what they're paying you. So now I do this event every year and I have my regular board with what I charge and it's not a big deal, but it did get me in the door. I hope some of these tips helped, and I know it's really hard to put yourself out there because nobody likes rejection, but it's part of business. You just have to try. Email people, make phone calls, tell your friends. People will help you out too and promote you if you believe in yourself. So just believe in yourself and just give it 100% and eventually it will pay off. So I know it's hard, but I know you guys can do it. So good luck. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope you guys know I'm always happy to help and I try to answer all of your questions and comments. And you can always message me on Facebook as well. I get a lot of questions there and I try to answer them all as quickly as possible. So good luck getting those gigs and I'll see you in my next video.